answer. You will be confronted.
This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
Only the free can tell the truth, then the truth can set you free. Only the free can tell the truth, then the truth can set you free.
Welcome, my friends here at the Truth Frequency Radio Network. You're listening to the 100th Monkey Radio with Tom and Ramon. It is February 22nd slash 23rd for Ramon. I think our guest may be in the 23rd too, yeah.
Yeah, she's in the 23rd.
Yeah, so I guess I'm the one lagging behind in time tonight. So Ramon, what's going on, man?
Let's see. Nothing much. I'm excited because today I'm going to go have New York style pizza.
Ooh, New York style pizza in Japan. I'll tell you what, there can't be anything better than that, right?
Yeah, there's a guy from New Jersey who has a pizza shop.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he decorated to look like stereotypical pizza part of the place. So he has like the real slices and everything. And
cool. So does he make good pie?
Yeah, he makes really good garlic nuts and calzones, which is something that you never see here. So
cool.
Yeah, like every American raves about the place. But on the other note, I had a chance to go meet, for those of you who know who's Khan, he does the whole Kunlun thing and the Andromedan exercises. That was really nice to run into him. Oh, not run into him, but go out to dinner with him. So it was really cool to be around, because we interview so many guests that have such great energy, and you can feel their energy, even if you're just listening to the show, but it's different when you're next to them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it's always like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, so anything in the news you want to cover before we get going tonight, Ramon?
Let me see. Give me 1 second and click on to that. Let's see. We got... Well, that one thing you posted, which was pretty amazing, is the man dead for 45 minutes says he awoke after seeing Afterlife. So if you go to our Facebook page and just put in the 100th Monkey Radio, you'll find it there.
Yeah, that's quite an amazing story. I mean, the guy who watched this interview with him, or the news clip with him, and this one kind of is impressive because it made the 5 o'clock news type thing, you know. And whenever that type of a story gets out there, I'm that's one more little chink in the armor, so to say. You know, we're getting that information is getting out there, and when it comes through that media source like that, we have those people that inside the box that. Maybe see a little light through the crack or something.
Yeah, those are the same people that'll say, no one's ever come back from death. And it's like, wait, a bunch of people have actually.
Yeah.
And then, they go through the whole thing. And even the scientists themselves is like, well, maybe we missed the thing. And it says, well, all your machinery said the person was dead.
Right.
So that,
Yeah, I wonder why it is. Sometimes some people, when they have those experiences when they're dead on the table or whatever it is, they come back and it was just absolutely blank. They got absolutely nothing. But then you have some people that come back and have these full-blown experiences to relate to people. I wonder why that is. Why some have those experiences and others it's just I went into the blackness.
Yeah. That's a good question.
Interesting. Well, actually, maybe we'll pose that to our guest tonight.
Yeah.
let's go ahead and dig right into it. We have tonight with us Rashmi Khilnani. She is a return guest of ours. Rashmi was born in Chandigarh, India, and spent the first 6 years of her life in Cairo, Egypt. She went on to study and teach with world-renowned avatars, gurus, and teachers, and became a specialist in energy medicine. She's on the forefront in bringing the ancient mystery school teachings of Egypt, India, Tibet, and China, as well as the teachings of the Essenes, into current time, and making these wisdoms simple and accessible to people of all levels of soul journeying. Rashmi teaches and practices several healing modalities and has taught Reiki Masters, doctors, scientists, and others from many walks of life the secrets of the mystery school teachings. She's a global metaphysical teacher, urban shaman, international lecturer, artist, seminar leader, and TV personality. Her website is www.rashmikhilnani.com. That's RashmiKhilnani. Welcome back to the 100th Monkey Radio, Rashmi.
Namaste, Tom and Ramon. A big hello from New Delhi. Thank you so much for having me back on your show. I think this is our third awesome show together. So, yeah, it's always wonderful to reconnect to you guys and your lovely energy.
Absolutely, and thank you so much for spending a sleepless night waiting to get on the radio with us. I know it's early there in India right now, and we are very grateful that you put yourself out like this to join us. It's fantastic.
You know, it's funny, whenever we have a guest who's in a different country, it just makes the world seem so much smaller.
It isn't very big anymore, is it?
Yeah. I think it's time to expand.
Yeah. Like the show the show we're releasing tomorrow, we had 4 continents. That's pretty amazing. So.
Wow.
Yeah. So Rashmi,
well, it's wonderful because it's bringing in this unity consciousness and the oneness. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Absolutely. So Rashmi, I mean, I really love the energy that you bring to these types of events, these shows. And if you would, I would ask you to maybe set the energetic stage for this evening's conversation. I just love the way you do this. So, if you would, please.
Okay. All right. So let's all take some deep breaths in and long breaths out and connect to this wonderful, effortless energy of the breath and the pranic tube. So if we had our hands in chin mudra, which was the thumb and the index finger together, that's bringing the energy from the outside into the within. And for the rest of the 2 hours, we really are going to be in a very deep inner space with the energy beyond the words. So as we breathe, now we'll connect the heart to the center of the earth through the pranic tube, which is the diameter of the chin mudra. Breathe in deep. The primordial sound of the universe is what connects us to all that is, to the allness and the nothingness, from unmanifest to manifest reality, beyond time and space, beyond words. We're feeling the love and energy of the very heart of Gaia connecting to our hearts as one. Breathe in deep. Feel your heart. Maybe take a moment to put the palms on the heart energy and just feel that energy for a moment, allowing the mind to sink into the blue light of the heart. And then connecting from the heart through the crown chakra up to the soul star chakra, up to the cosmic heart center. And we don't need to be too intellectual about it. Breathe in deep. Feel the expansion. Feel the connection to the cosmos, to your unlimited, multidimensional being and becoming. And then breathing in heaven and earth on an in-breath, opening the 1,000-petal lotus of the heart on an out-breath, within safety and protection and free will. Breathe in deep. heart gently opening, and just observe how much it wishes to open without pushing and pulling, without judging, just allowing, embracing, being. And into this lotus now, let's bring in the Maha Mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, which means I love myself, I honor myself, God, Goddess dwell within me as me. Or I seek refuge at the feet of the God, Goddess energy within me. Breathe in deep and bring in the Om Namah Shivaya. We'll chant it a few times together. Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah Shivaya. And then the Shanti mantra, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Within, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Without, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. To the fire within and without, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. To the air energy and the mental energy within and without, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Earth energy within and without, Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. To the water energy, the emotional body, and to the waters on Mother Earth and the manifest reality. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. To all beings everywhere, within free will. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Breathe. Feel. Connect to the void within you. Place of nothingness from which all thingness springs forth. Feel the peace, feel the inner smile, feel the radiance of all that you are, being and becoming, allowing through that emptiness, through making that okay and safe, and then coming back to the show and continuing to keep this energy through gentle allowance in the heart and in groundedness. So the two together, not being spaced out in it, and at the same time not being just on earth, but connecting to the vastness, the unlimitlessness that we be. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Way to set the stage.
Do you feel that?
I do, actually. I've got my energy is definitely online right now, so feels good. So Rashmi, majority of the questions that I pulled out for tonight are going to come out of the third in the three books that you've put out. This one, which I should share with our listeners here. We have Buddha Speaks to the Buddha Nature Within. We have the Divine Mother Speaks, The Healing of the Human Heart, and Shiva Speak, Conversations with Mahavatar Babaji. And the majority of the questions that I pulled out tonight myself are going to be coming out of Shiva Speaks. So, by the way, fantastic work on all three of these. And I really have to appreciate the simplicity and the fullness of simplicity that you put into this work, and the way it's described, it's very palatable for anybody on any level. From what I see here, anybody on any level of their spiritual growth will be able to pull something out of this work. So fantastic on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. And the books are available on Kindle and Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Shiva Speaks is being launched right now as a paperback book, so it should be out on Amazon any day now, in the next couple of weeks. Hopefully, there's been a slight delay from my publishers, but It should,
Oh, that's
it should
cool.
also be available in paperback soon. Yeah.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people that will want to get that as soon as it's available. By the way, you guys out there listening, all you guys out in the chat room, I want to welcome you to the 100th Monkey, and hey, what's up, guys? We also have the phone lines that we're going to be keeping open through this whole show. So anybody out there listening live that feels like calling in and asking a question, feel free and jump right on it. The phone number is 1-866-37-TRUTH. So shall we head off into the questions now? So I'll start with the Shiva Speaks book. Well, actually, give us a little background on the Shiva Speaks book. What is that book all about in itself? And then I have some more questions that I'll direct out of that.
Right. Well, the Shiva Speaks book is all about this current energy that we're all going through, which is extremely palpable, which is the energy of accelerated transformation and change. So this is the time of change when we're shifting frequencies from, call it, Satya Yuga, Kali Yuga to Satya Yuga, or call it from, a time of being asleep of 13,000 years to a time of waking up now. And this involves the destruction of the lower aspect for the recreation of a higher frequency, a heartfelt frequency, a wake-up time. And that is very much what the Shiva energy is all about. So it's not, none of these books are actually religious. This is all about energy and frequency and archetypal energy and spirituality, which includes everything. And Mahavatar Babaji was made very famous through an autobiography of a yogi. And he is called the Guru of Gurus, but in his many incarnations on earth as the immortal Christ yogi through the eons, sometimes in a body, sometimes in several, appearing to people miraculously across the globe. He is the Christ yogi who's here to take us into unity consciousness. And of the Ascended Masters, he's the one that will be with us until we all ascend together with Gaia. So he taught Jesus, Moses, Elijah. It's very difficult to describe him because it's not actually a him or a she.
That was my next question. Is this? My next question was: is this Babaji lean towards the masculine or the feminine energies? Yeah. I'll throw that question out there anyways. Does he lean towards either energy, either polarity?
Well, we say he because he's been around many times in male bodies, but he can materialize and dematerialize bodies at will. He literally is all that is that comes into manifest reality to raise the frequency and help mankind at different points of our evolution. And so it's ultimately not even, a being in the sense it's eternal beingness made manifest. So it's really not to be understood through the mind. And people across the globe have experienced his energy, have had miraculous appearances by him. I've had him appear in my studio in London, and I've seen him as different people, like taxi drivers or a beggar or a Frenchman on an aeroplane from Shanghai to London. And so is Leonard Orr, the father of, one of the fathers of the New Age and rebirthing. And Leonard has made his teachings very available in the West, and through rebirthing, which is modern Kriya Yoga. Because in the autobiography of a yogi, they talk about Kriya Yoga, which I've been initiated into, and rebirthing is like a new way of bringing that very complicated system into current time. And so when they used to bathe Babaji in the river in Hera Khan in this recent incarnation as Hera Khan Baba in the early 80s, sometimes he was, he had the genitals of a man and sometimes of a woman. So these are the kind of leelas or divine plays that he plays. And he would very often become the Divine Mother. So he would have a sari with a tika and bring that energy through. And in fact, he impulsed me to channel my first book, which was The Divine Mother Speaks, The Healing of the Human Heart. I just chose an Egyptian aspect of the Divine Mother, which was the goddess Hathor, but it could equally have been Durga Mata or Mother Mary or another aspect of the Divine Mother. And that is his energy as well. It encompasses the Divine Mother and the Divine Father energies.
So when people have these experiences with Babaji, is it something that is in full awareness? How would somebody know that energy is Babaji unless he comes right out and says, "Hey guys, I'm Babaji"?
Well, different things happen for different people, and so many books have been written about him. But what I'm really excited about is that this book is, autobiography of a yogi. I'm pretty sure was a mainstream book, and this book, has been published by Robert Friedman, who's published Richard Bach and, Conversations with God, Neil Donald Walsh, and is one of the, main, very important channel publishers on the planet over the last 20, 30 years. Whereas a lot of the other books, there are many, many, many out there, have been, self-published or published through smaller. So I feel one of my roles this time is, Babaji has so many devotees, and they're all, many of them are serving him tirelessly to carry the message forward. It's not like millions know about him even, Tom.
Right.
It's still just for the few pioneers that he says will carry the fire of transformation across the globe. And it's not an ism, because he honors all religions and all spiritual paths and all major gurus and teachers and that sort of thing. So, I feel my role through this book is to, as you very wisely pointed out at the beginning of the show, to make this accessible to people of all sorts of people that are willing now to open up to the energies of transformation, change with grace and ease, and wanting to bring heaven on earth, wanting to co-create as opposed to continue this tendency that we've had for 13,000 years of destruction and divide and rule and competition and so on. So that's where it's very exciting. So, this book isn't essentially, though it could be interesting to some of the, the diehard Babaji devotees out there, but it's also to make it accessible for people. And that's how, people would just see maybe a picture of him or connect to through rebirthing. There are just so many different ways in which you connect to Babaji, or find out later on that, that being that you saw or felt or had an experiential with was this Mahavatar.
Right. So during
might come in hindsight.
Yeah. So during your interactions with him, I know you were when you were the books were coming through. You were aware of the entity that was working with you. But in retrospect, the other encounters you had, you said like the French guy on the plane, et cetera, were those moments of awareness during the interaction, or was it something that came to you afterwards?
The French guy on the plane was definitely afterwards, because the guy looked like George Clooney and was, flirting and being very charming for 13 hours on this aeroplane. And the last thing I would have thought is that that's Babaji. But he said very distinctly at the beginning, he said, we might as well be nice to each other because we're on this plane for 13 hours. He said, but we won't tell each other our names and we will never forget each other. And I thought that's quite strange,
Wow.
And even though we became good friends and I did some healing on him, and he was just, I said, I don't like Frenchmen because they flirt, and then, then they're just like very cold. And this guy just broke all those rules and got me chocolate ice cream and socks and, saw me to my gate because he was going to Basel, which was interesting because that's where I'd lived for a year. It was in hindsight I realized that, oh my God, that was Babaji having a right little joke on me. But I'd just been in Shanghai where I'd met my family, and there was a lot of sibling stuff going on, and my sister was really not very nice to me as I left and sort of asked me to touch her feet, and she's my younger sister. That doesn't happen in India, you know. So I was pretty upset when I got on the flight, and so it was just like a gift saying, you know, you went all the way to Shanghai to see your mother, even though it was so challenging. And I realized later. But when he would appear in my studio as this being of light on the top of the spiral staircase, I had 11-foot ceilings. That was very much a transcendental experience, if you know what I mean.
Right. No doubt in your mind on that one.
It's difficult to understand,
Yeah.
unless you experience that. But he would also appear to Leonard very often. And when Leonard and I met, I really wanted to meet somebody who I felt, you know, was ready to jump like I was for Babaji. And then, boom, you know, I came out of having survived breast cancer, and I met Leonard because I remembered in his book, Breaking the Death Habit, he mentioned, almost you forget that he had recovered from cancer several times over, and the connection with Babaji. So my boyfriend pushed me to meeting him just to re-step up my life urge, you know.
Right.
And I met him, and we were just discussing all our different meetings and different bodies. And anybody, at that point, this sort of guy on the street in London came up to us and said, "Is this your husband or is this your friend?" And I just went, "This is my husband." And then I said, "Leonard, that guy was Babaji." And he was busy looking at soya yogurt, so he didn't notice.
We're at our first break here, so I want you guys to enjoy these wonderful commercial breaks from the Truth Frequency Radio Network. You're listening to Tom and Ramon on the 100th Monkey Radio with Rashmi Khilnani, and we will be back after this break.
My faith in destiny is all I need to prevail.
This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
Now one more time before I go, one last thing you need to know, my friend. You want to keep it complicated, it's really all quite simple in the end. You got to tune into your inner being, now let it be. You got to activate your inner being.
Welcome back to the 100th Monkey Radio Show. We have a wonderful show, but before then, just want to give you the numbers, so if you want to call, 1-866-37-TRUTH. That's 1-866-37-TRUTH. What a wonderful energy so far. So, Rashmi, we were talking about Babaji. Is Babaji just that that one form of that one energy, or is he? It gets so confusing here. Or is he or she a separate energy from that one consciousness energy?
Oh, you're wanting to know if he's archetypical or an individual who's gone through
is he archetypal or individual?
Right.
Well, as I've explained, he's Advaita, which means neither man nor woman, and ultimately all of us are Advaita, which means we are androgyne. The soul is androgyne. And in fact, when people die, you know, and they so-called die, and they're still sort of identified with their body, they're quite surprised that they don't have a gender, you know? It takes them a little while sometimes to get used to that. So it's definitely the descent of spirit into matter. Does that help?
Ramon?
Yes. Sorry,
Hello?
I had hit the mute button and it was running back to unmute it. Yeah, it does a lot.
I can't hear Ramon very well, actually.
Can you hear me now?
A little better, yeah. Thank you.
Well, let me get closer to the mic. So, with these the reason why I'm wondering, because in our own path, it's almost like I feel like sometimes we lack the role models, and if we do have a role model, like let's say Babaji or Jesus Christ or Gautama Buddha, they're people who are not really around us. It's not like somebody you can, well, you have, but I mean, for most of us to go sit down and have coffee with and just be around that energy. You know, for example, if you want to be a great baseball player, you should be around other great baseball players. So for those of us seeking a higher awareness, we want to be around those people, but at times I find it very difficult to be around those people. It's hard to find. Do you know what I mean?
Well, what happens with Babaji is that even a photograph of him, and you know, if you go onto Babaji.com or Google Babaji, there's millions and millions of pictures, and you just have a picture that maybe speaks to you, and then things start happening, and he literally would pop out of the picture and perform leelas or divine plays for you, which is, you know, based on the heart and the yearning, which is what the book Shiva Speaks, Conversations with Mahavatar Babaji, is all about, is my personal journey with Babaji. And there are other books, as I've said out there, about other people's personal journeys with him, you know, which are there to help trigger people into really understanding that these, you know, beings are there for us. It's just a question of frequency, and it's not an outer thing like the baseball player. It's much more an inner experiential thing. So I asked to meet enlightened beings in this lifetime, and I have met them. I said, you know, just as there was Jesus and Buddha and Shiva and Krishna on the planet, I want to meet some now. And I was taken in India, I was introduced to a lady, and I could see she was, you know, and there are other beings. So if we're totally heartfelt, you know, not in a way that it's kind of investigative journalism or, you know, it has to be the full false being and the energy of the soul as opposed to the energy of the mind, then these things will always come forth. When the student is ready, the teacher will always appear. And as I said, Babaji will literally and has literally appeared for people. But if we say, you know, I want you to perform this spiritual miracle for me, well, it may or may not happen. But if it's totally heartfelt, then things will start happening. And people go to Hari Khan, where he manifested in this cave as an 18-year-old youth in this last incarnation, of so-called official incarnation. And, you know, they have incredible experiences there. I mean, I've seen Russians show up that don't speak a word of Hindi or didn't even know who he was. He appeared to them in Russia, and they're chanting, you know, very complicated Sanskrit chants in the temple with all of us, you know. It's just mind-blowing what happens. Mind-blowing, literally, what happens.
Yeah, you know, I can't say for sure myself, but I've had some encounters with some people along those lines where I've asked for guidance. You know, I've asked for somebody or something, and normally this comes out of a time of trouble within myself, where I've needed some help, and I've had some absolutely amazing encounters with what I perceived as just normal people, but in retrospect, like you said earlier, that in retrospect, when I look back at it, it was definitely a divine interaction on some level or another, and it was exactly what I needed. So, yeah, this place is just so freaking amazing. I'm in constant awe on a daily basis.
Ask and you shall receive, you know.
Exactly.
And beings like Jesus were taught by Babaji, you know. I went to this grave in Kashmir, and don't know if I mentioned that in the last shows we did together, and I felt this energy of Jesus even before I was on a conscious spiritual path. I was about 19, and, you know, they say that was the grave of Jesus, and that after he resurrected, he went back to the east, and that sort of thing. There's quite a few books written about that as well.
Right.
So, you know, the thing with Babaji is, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, it's not evangelism, but I feel he's the cosmic main plug. Because I work with Reiki, and I was asked to be teacher of many, many different spiritual streams wherever I went, because I'm an old soul, and I understand the scriptures, not intellectually in this lifetime, but just through resonance from past lives. And I chose Reiki because it's non-denominational, and but I would still say that, Babaji, the Shiva energy, the Shiva principle, and particularly his energy as a Christ yogi, it is the cosmic main plug. So why go here, there, and everywhere, But and within that, he very much honors every, he calls it the Vishwa Mahadharma, which means Sanatana Mahadharma, which means universal spirituality, universal. The word is religion, but it's actually spirituality, it's actually energy. And this mantra, Om Namah Shivaya, has been chanted through eons, and is just so powerful. But he says, chant any name of God, and do your karma yoga, which is the yoga of action. He said, in this time of this change from Kali Yuga, which is the dark age, it gets really dark before it gets light. And I think we're all feeling that and seeing that around us. So, and he teaches truth, simplicity, and love. And so it's all so simple, but it's extremely powerful.
Right.
Extremely, extremely powerful.
Yeah. You talked about the universal truths, and so there's so many truths within my life that have changed as I continue to grow. What I see today as truth, and what I feel as a knowing myself is like almost on a daily basis. Is a constant changing process, and we hear this term universal truth bandied about, and at times I've thought that what I was experiencing, what I felt, I knew was a universal truth, just to have that actually change from where I was at that time. So I guess the question I have is there a level or depth of truth that has that's of such a flavor that is, for lack of a better term, a universal truth that does not change through time?
Well, yes, there are universal truths, like, for example, attention plus intention equals manifestation. So something like that, no matter which story of truth you're on, the ground floor, of course, we have one truth. First floor, you have a completely different truth. The view from the top of the Empire State Building is yet another truth, isn't it? And then as an astronaut, the truth changes again. And then, you can go further and further and further, and you get a larger and larger picture. But within those stories of truths, as an analogy, attention plus intention equals manifestation holds through those stories, doesn't it? The view changes, but that truth, that your attention plus intention, your attention is to look at the view, and your intention is looking at the view. And that doesn't change no matter, that part of looking at the view doesn't change.
Right.
So, for example, love is universal law. And so, yes, as we grow, our concept and idea and then experiential of love. Like for years, I thought love is something that is, outside of me or something I have to do. But it's taken the journey to realize love is what I be. Yeah?
Right.
And within that was a lower truth, or, a lesser truth, or whatever you want to call it. So with the mind, we can toss things around and we're going to go in a circle, And, but from the heart, when Babaji talks about truth, simplicity, and love, he says the truth of the moment within yourself. Obviously, you're not going to take on something outside of yourself unless it resonates within. So your heart is one wing, and that which is being presented to you is the other wing. Say it's some truth from the Buddhist text or wherever. When the two come together, then the bird can fly, and that's authentic truth of the moment. And that's all that is expected. That is all that's expected of one, And that is why I say to people that those of us that know better, those of us that say that we've been on the spiritual path, those of my students, that say that they are, master of this, that, and the other Reiki energy streams that, one might have initiated them to. I say, well, don't call yourself those titles unless you're willing to take on the responsibility that comes with that. And that means that the repercussions for us that know are much greater than for the people that are sleeping. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Because that's another universal law, If you don't know, then you may be forgiven. But if you know, and then then, with time, that the backlash of the karmic backlash becomes stronger of cause and effect. Does that help?
It does, definitely. Thank you very much. There's a statement out of Shiva Speaks that I jotted down here, and if you would, the hands that work are greater than the hands that just worship. I guess my question coming out of this, what's really meant by this statement, and what does that really look like in practice?
Well, there are people that will just meditate all day, and then if they pass somebody who's wanting something like some food or, whatever it is, a smile, it may not happen, That's an example. So it's all about balance, and what this is actually Satya Sai Baba as well very much talked about it. And Babaji says, you could meditate for 1,000 years, and if you can't jump and help people and be there to serve others as well, and that doesn't mean, just others, also oneself, the balance, then your meditation is rubbish, Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, just to do, I know so many Babaji devotees that, they do the yagnas and they do the arti, the Babaji arti, the chanting, the devotion, the ceremony, and they're very finicky about it and fanatical about how it's done or whatever, for example. But then, they'll be lying, or they'll be not helping the next person, or they'll be still in their conditioned programming of, for example, I'm British and therefore we're cold, or, you know what I mean? When we're on a spiritual path, then we begin to realize that I'm not just a body, and I'm not just a nationality, etc. In fact, I'm none of those things. And then within that, then I can read on those things like, Shakespeare's stage, and I'm an actor on the stage. But give up that over-identification with, my programming, including my programming of being a body and being in the century and whatever it is. And that's what this fifth dimensional frequency is taking us into, is coming out of our fixed linear stories into being able to create multidimensional stories. Does that make sense? So I don't just have to be Rashmi, who's the, people say, are you Indian? I will say, I'm cosmic. Are you American? Well, yes, I am, but I'm cosmic. Are you cosmic? Well, I'm nothing as well,
Right.
And there is no I, and ultimately there isn't even the I am. The I am is so powerful. Tatvamasi, that everybody's getting onto that. That the I am is powerful. So I am, whatever I put after that becomes the truth and manifest reality. But ultimately, I'm not even that. I'm nothing. And we have to understand this nothingness energy. So, Tom and Ramon, when you read this book, Shiva Speaks, Conversation with Mahavtar Babaji, did you get an essence of this nothingness energy within all the powerful Shiva energy flying around? Did you feel that as well?
Yes, but it kind of comes through, to me it was more in a tone of humility.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess that's the impression I got through it, was that tone of humility. So it's pretty powerful.
And do you feel comfortable with the nothingness energy?
Oh.
See, when we go into meditation, we go into the nothingness energy. So even if we are observing our thoughts, we actually come to that space of stillness, which is the nothingness energy, which is the void energy, which is the unmanifest energy, which is the black hole energy. I mean, really latching onto a word misses the boat, because in that energy, words and language actually is what causes manifest reality, the logos and the matrix and all of it. So it takes us beyond that into that void. Do you get a sense of that sometimes?
Getting to that place was a huge key for me in being able to do the conscious out of body travel. The conscious projection. That was a huge key for me, is being able to find that nothingness. And and as soon as I was able,
isn't it powerful?
Oh man,
and peaceful, and so this is actually the essence of the Shiva teachings, is meditation. And because Shiva meditates eternally on Mount Kailash, at the top of the Himalayan mountains, I was flying into Delhi and watching these mountains. I mean, it's just stunning. It is heaven on earth there. And my book ends with that, where I have this sanctuary with Babaji in the mountains, and I've been given a little tiger baby cub. And this is in another realm of reality, but yet it's always with me when I want peace. And the sound of Om permeates through the ethers. And that's the ending of the book, which I share. But so this nothingness energy is paramount now for all of us, to make those moments of stillness. And we don't have to be, like, oh my God, I can't meditate, etc. It could just be breathing. It could be sitting quietly in nature. It could be sitting quietly in the veranda, which is what I do here in Delhi. And looking at the birds, listening to them. And you come to that still space. And in that, everything melts. And that nothingness energy, it is scary. The unknown energy is scary. But ultimately, the mind begins to dissolve and you start feeling that bliss. And it's that energy which gives rejuvenation, physical immortality, everything. You get totally recharged. Right. And you can come back into the manifest, full force, and choose whichever story you'd like. And it starts becoming instant manifestation.
So, Ramon, you want to get another question out there before we hit our next break?
Just wondering the implications of, for example, I had a conversation with a gentleman who's Mormon, and he was here in Japan to kind of bring more Japanese Mormons into it. And he asked me a question: what is the implication of meditation? Like, what are the side effects and things like that? So I just wanted to bring that out to get your point of view. What someone who's sitting down for the first time to meditate and maybe is coming from a very religious background.
What are some of the fringe benefits to meditation when somebody begins?
Oh my goodness. Well, just about everything, de-stressing, recharging, rejuvenating, coming out of panic, feeling more rested, having more energy, better health, vitality. One can just go on and on and on, when they asked the Buddha this question, it was like, what will you gain from meditation? He said, I don't know about that, but I can tell you what you'd lose. And then he gave the long list of all the negatives that we experience through the mind. The mind is there to divide, to rule, to compete, to make right and wrong, to analyze to death, to create a lot of fear. And it's illusionary. Now, of course, it is through the mind that the manifest realities happen. But a purified mind is one that is connected to the heart energy and to this void energy. And then the manifestations through the mind become much more focused and much more co-creative as opposed to reactive. And so it's like a camera with the lens really clean and a fantastic zoom and being able to do all sorts of things, as opposed to just a sort of, shoot through a dirty lens type of thing. Does that make sense?
Right. So.
Did you feel that?
Yeah, I did. Ramona,
you can feel my words, guys.
Yeah.
If our listeners can feel the words as opposed to think the words, because we brought in that energy at the beginning, it will really help.
So here's one for you, Rashmi, and I don't know, we've got 3.5 minutes left to go before our next break, but you may not get all the way through this, but I'll throw it out there and we can get going on it. I guess, what is it about us that gets us to compromise our truths or to appease or to keep from offending someone else? Sometimes we walk our talk, and then there's other times in certain situations where we just toss all that out the window for one reason or another. But ultimately, I kind of see that this slows, this shows that we lack some level of courage or conviction with what we personally know. So I guess my question out of this is, how do we manage to overcome or come to terms with this fear of judgment of others?
Powerful question. The Babaji path, the Shiva path, is very much about courage, and that's what connecting to an aspect which is actually within us. Om Namah Shivaya. A lot of Westerners don't understand. When we chant Om Namah Shivaya, Shiva means everything. So they think Shiva is just Babaji or just this or that Murti or that, idol of Shiva out there. No, Shiva is everything we encounter, including the stone and everything. It is the oneness energy. So when we reconnect to this higher aspect of oneness energy, be it Jesus or Buddha or Shiva particularly, it helps us to connect to that energy of courage. Yeah. So even now, I was supposed to be. Hello.
Go ahead. That was just my chihuahuas barking at a car driving by or something.
Okay. Hello to them. And before my 6 dogs here in New Delhi wake up. But anyway, the thing is, I was supposed to be in America right now on Thursday, and at the last second, suddenly this voice inside me. I think I was looking at something by Wayne Herschel or someone, like that.
Oh yeah.
On Facebook,
Wayne
and
Herschel
suddenly I was just like, "You're supposed to go to India." And I said, "Babaji, I've booked all these tickets. It's taken me a month, And Babaji's voice within me is my own higher self. It's synonymous in my particular case. So I don't see the separation at all. And I had to rearrange, or my intuition was getting me to rearrange everything, cancel everything in the States, and then rearrange for the radio shows to happen out of Delhi. And that took a lot of courage,
Right.
But, that's where the grace of the guru, or I know guru has been made a very, very bad word in the West and all across the globe, including India now. But the truth is, guru means taking from darkness to the light. It's within us, this energy, and ultimately all the ascended masters and archangels and whoever's out there, you guys do so many different shows, the God's Scribe, and we can call it by all these different names. The truth is, it's all one energy, yeah? And that energy connects to our higher self. So we can choose, whether to just be in 3D reality or to be in a higher frequency.
We got to hold you right there. We are at our next break here, Rashmi, and some good stuff here, guys. Hang around and check out hour 2 here coming up right after these messages on the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
Facebook. Broadcasting worldwide in complete defiance of the U.S. Patriot Act and the NDAA.
This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
Only the free can tell the truth, then the truth can set you free. Only the free can tell the truth, then the truth can set you free.
Welcome back to the 100th Monkey Radio with Tom and Ramon. We are speaking with Rashmi Khilnani tonight, all the way from India. And before the break, we were talking about how we manage to overcome and deal with this fear and generate that courage within self when interacting with others. I mean, especially, I found this for me personally, Rashmi, to be one of my biggest challenges is finding those triggers that people set off within me when and then when I would look back on the situation, to be able to fully see that somebody pushed my button. They pushed one of those triggers and I reacted. And then at a later date I'm able, or in that similar situation, I'm able to bring those things up and address it in a different manner. But how do we walk in this world and work on removing those socially embedded triggers?
Well, this is what the whole spiritual path is all about, and it's moment to moment, and it's keep going, chariveti, as we would say in the Sanskrit texts. And so bringing in the grace of a Maha-avatar like Babaji really, really helps because, at the moment I'm going through an ongoing challenging situation in my family where, there's a lot of wealth and it's all pretty, the situation is not very just, And I was actually praying to Babaji earlier and saying, it still triggers me, I still feel that why is my father and grandfather's wealth going so in just one direction and that there's so much animosity on top of it. And why does this bother me when I'm so much on a sage path or, call it what you will, where I've given up so much and continue for the path if it requires it to give up clinging to objects, places, all kinds of things, and have the courage to do that. And Babaji said, well, this thing is pretty big, and, there's layer after layer of the onion, and you just give it to me now, and surrender. And that's not an easy one either, because it's like, well, we're one, and now suddenly, we become two again, Babaji, what's going on? And so so it's like, yeah, well, you want to sort this out or you don't want to sort this out? It's like, I definitely want to sort it out. I don't want to be pulled down into the dualistic way beyond the point, It doesn't serve me because I have no way of changing the outcome vis-a-vis other people's free will. And this is my family, so I have no way of just walking away either because, my mom's 82 and so on, and my brother. And I love them, I may not like what they're doing, but I still love them. So, there's always another part, and it's not about being perfect, but it's definitely about asking to receive and saying, help me with my conditioning, help me with my... I've given up a lot of my conditioning, but it still pops up from time to time. And sometimes it's my British conditioning, and sometimes it's the American stuff, and sometimes it's the Egyptian and the Indian and so on. But it doesn't really matter what's coming up, as long as our intention plus attention is on this shift. And it definitely is yours, Tom, and I'm pretty sure it's also Ramon. So isn't that what you find happens as you unravel your journey, that help always comes to you?
Absolutely, especially when I consciously ask for it, it always comes in some form or fashion. But with that being said, I've also run into situations where I wasn't always sure of the information and the way I was perceiving it, or my confidence level. I guess my confidence level in what I received would not be very high. So I guess the question I'm pulling out of this is, how do we discern when we are receiving, that assistance that we've asked for? How do we discern whether or not it's not something else that's trying to, one of those old programs or triggers coming up to play? Where's that discernment factor?
Again, there's all these different books about methodology around intuition, and I would say, it's feeling moment to moment. It's being in the moment, taking a deep breath, pausing, taking a step back, saying, I don't know. It's okay that I don't know. And then feeling the fear of not knowing, and then you start feeling it in your gut. Like when I got that message, I thought, just from seeing a post by this guy that I mentioned earlier on Facebook, I thought this is crazy, but then already in me was gestating this energy that somehow it was not correct to be in London anymore at that time, just for that time. It's always in the moment. So people expect methodology so that every time they work out that same step 1, step 2, step 3. So if there is a methodology, it is step 1, breathe, step 2, pause, step 3, become the detached observer of the situation if you can, ground yourself, and feel. Yeah. And breathing will connect you to your feeling body. And then ask as well. And so I then started putting the puzzle together, and it had happened quite quickly. And then somebody popped up on Facebook. It was one of my students, and she's done Reiki Energy Mastery of 20 modalities. So I said, this is what it's feeling like. She said, I got to give my kids dinner. I said, look, I got to make a decision on the ticket in the next 30 minutes. So give me your impression of what you're getting. And she said, I'm getting that the energy in London is not correct right now for you to be in, and the energy in America right now is a little bit everybody chasing their tail. So they're not yet ready for a full whammy of, your physical presence vis-a-vis what you're going to do, which is the shifting of consciousness. It's always within free will. So she says it makes sense for you to go to India or come to Sweden right now. So that tallied with my information. So you may, you can just stay with it. It depends on how urgent that decision is. So are you getting a sense of what I'm saying? It's very much about moment-to-moment feeling, and then seeing where the next part of the jigsaw puzzle comes. And if you have a time constraint, as I had, it's 30 minutes, the universe rearranged itself to, where I was on the telephone and on Facebook, and several things happened at the same time, so that I was able to still get that ticket to change and come to Delhi, and then rearrange things as, I had a day to do that. But the other thing was to stay calm, So there was a part of me for a minute that freaked out because I was going to lose a lot of money, etc. And then Babaji said, he said, would you like to be one of those people that, just being put on a dinghy boat because their house is flooded? I said, no, but I've given up those things. He said, but for you now, the test is dumping a few tickets and dumping a schedule, and then doing your best within that, not to, disappoint the people that you're going to be there for. But the ones that you won't be there for are the ones that are not ready for it.
Right.
You see? So it took courage. It took a lot of, letting go of money or whatever it was. And he said, in the moment, are you not always in supply of whatever you need to be, wherever you need to be? I said, absolutely. So, and now when I look back at it, it was perfect. And so there's no, this is forever, this is what you do, Sometimes you run, and sometimes you approach, and sometimes you're still at something. It's always different, but the feeling body will tell you. And you won't know what your feeling body is if you're not breathing, if you're not grounded, if you're not asking for help, etc. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, to figure it all out with the mind isn't going to work. And to expect to be perfect isn't going to work. And that's the other thing, Tom, and the one, it's to sort of say, okay, if I make a mistake, I'm going to learn from this anyways,
Right. Right, yeah.
And also not to be too trigger happy, unless it's really a knowingness. Sometimes I have a total knowingness, and then you just, then you hit the bullseye. But if you don't, you sort of, shuffle around a little bit. Sometimes it's literally seconds you're shuffling, but that's enough to sort of get that pause, to not be totally reactive, and to come from a space of a choice point as opposed to a reactionary pattern.
Right. So,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Ramon. No, you go for it.
And the Om Namah Shivaya, the more you chant Om Namah Shivaya in the calm moments, the more when the challenges come, you will ride with them. Does that make sense? So the more you say, Namyo Renge Kyo or Om Mani Padme Om or, pray to Jesus or whatever it is that is the spiritual practice of devotion or purification of the mind, meditation, chanting, being quiet, being silent, being with nature, the more we do bring that into our lives, the calmer we are through the turbulent waves of change, which is the Shiva energy as they come. So the whole book is giving you all the tools for that. Does that make sense? So it's a bit like, if the roots go deep into the earth, and when the storm comes, that particular tree is not going to topple, is it?
Right. Good solid foundation.
It's also not going to freak out. Yeah, it's also not going to freak out. It's going to go, okay, here comes the wind, and I will just bend a bit, and because it's gone deep into the earth. It's the same with us. Unless we go within, unless we go deep inside of ourselves, unless that's what that's where the whole energy is now. There's no way of getting it just from being on Facebook and listening to radio shows and buying the books and going to the seminars and, meeting the gurus. That's all on the outside, and it's great and it helps. But ultimately, all those tools and all those people and all that stuff takes us to the within, and if we can't have the courage to do that, and just take little baby steps, guys. If the darkness within or the pain or the stress or the tension is too big, don't spend like 10 days being alone, being quiet. You might go nuts. Just start with, saying, okay, 10 minutes of the day, and then increase that and increase the spiritual practices, which are pleasurable. It's pleasurable to chant. It's pleasurable to be alone. It's pleasurable to be in nature. It's pleasurable to bathe twice a day or once a day in a conscious way and breathe. Is it not?
Yes. So, Ramon, did you have a question you wanted to throw out there?
I was going to say the whole thing where I see a lot of people in the, especially like the New Age movement, where they're getting into this and meditating and they're doing their due diligence. But when something happens, for example, that they maybe rightfully so get angry, they tend to bottle it. And then in the outside, they act very peaceful and they handle it correctly, but inside they just bottled it. So, and then what they do is...
That's a very good point.
And then that keeps going, and then one day you're like, whoa, what happened to that person? They're usually so calm and collective, and they just blew up on the smallest thing. Yeah.
Well, there aren't many teachers that teach this, but I firmly believe that to say, the 5 Reiki principles are just for today, I will not worry. Just for today, I will do my work honestly. And there's 5. Anyway, one of the 5 is, just for today, I will, some people interpret it as just for today, I will not anger. But my interpretation and many others is just for today, I will not hold on to anger. Now, anger is an energy and a passion just like anything else, just as, in nature we have storms sometimes. So to say, there's never going to be anger and I can't express it, is just, I think, insane really, which is what, you're just sharing, which leads to suppression, repression, and which led to my father being killed, because the guy who killed him was a very, very quiet guy who never said anything. He was a house help. And if he had just expressed himself a bit, it wouldn't have led to something as drastic as that. So it's important to begin to bring some of that energy out as well. And people sometimes say, oh, well, my mother says this to me. She goes, you say you're a Reiki Master and this, that, and the other, and then, why do you lose your temper sometimes? Well, if you look at any great being, there are times when, that energy is very absolutely in that energy of that's enough, or having to fight the good fight. Does that make sense? It's like a balance in the moment situation, and it's based on at the center, being at the center being very still and not being in that anger energy. But on the periphery, you might have to, fight or do some self-defense or say no or sometimes even shout. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, with me would start.
As long as you don't hold on to it.
Yeah, I started releasing it more because I remember for me in the beginning I would hold it back, and then when it would get to a point where you know, I had to get physical or whatever the situation may be, afterwards I would start getting stomach pains because the energy would feel kind of like almost trapped.
My first book, The Divine Mother Speaks, is very much about healing is feeling, and it's a lot about how to deal with healing and energy. So the thing is that if we suppress and repress emotion, which is energy in motion, then that's what causes disease and tummy aches and cancer and so many things. So it's important to move that energy, and we can do that, you know, through movement, through dance, through singing it out, painting it out, warm it, writing it out, through healing. But being too fixated on any one way is not going to help, because that's another way of guiding. You know, sometimes it's about chanting, and sometimes it's about healing, and sometimes it's about going and doing charity. And it's always a different experience or action that we're asked to by our soul if we really want to come back into resonance, back into balance, back into frequency of bliss, joy, or peace. And so it's a moment-to-moment thing, and this whole new energy now on the planet is very much about this intuitive energy. And how do we come into intuition? The answer is always allow, allow, allow. Let go. Be. Create a space. Go into the void. Breathe into the fear. Accept the situation, which is a tough one. I mean, even for me right now, I'm finding it a little challenging to accept that for 30 years this thing has gone on and on and on. And sometimes I ask this question of God, you know, all that is the divine, Babaji, but why is it that the people that, you know, seem to be the greatest sinners are the ones that get away with stuff, and the people that are really salt of the earth are the ones that continue to suffer sometimes? But of course, we don't know the karmic history of everything and the greater picture of what the soul is wishing to experience. Does that make sense? Right.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is important. That was a lovely point of you know, to work towards not harming self and others through that anger. And remember that suppressing and repressing is also causing massive harm. At the same time, not making a Broadway hit, a 365-day Broadway hit drama out of that, you know, and harming others and so on. So there is a balance there. You know, like I sometimes can be quite, you know, boom, you know, it all comes out. But I'm like a kid, you know. Kids get mad, but usually children, you know, 99% of the time, they then come back to innocence, they come back to laughter, they come back to sharing their sweeties. They don't spend like 20 days sulking usually.
Right,
you know?
right.
Unless, again, their imprinting hits them at an early age, you know. So if you can be like little children, only then will you pass through the eye of the needle, which is the Bible, you know. That is essential now. And Babaji was like a little kid, and he taught a lot through the energy of laughter, which I've shared a lot in my book. He's extremely funny, and of course he can make you cry, and it can be extremely crazy and drastic. And like, for example, what I just went through in London, where, you know, there I am pointed towards America with expensive, you know, hotels and tickets and everything. and then suddenly I'm in New Delhi instead. Well, that is total Shiva energy, you know. And I'm not saying for all of you out there that will just be connected to Babaji or wish to, that you'll immediately be given massive, you know, drastic lessons like that. But the truth is the whole planet right now is going through massive transformation. I mean, are you guys observing that all over the world?
Oh.
That, you know, it's non-stop.
And increasing its pace too. I mean, things are just, you know, I thought, you know, before that whole 2012 thing came about, you know, I'd actually kind of bought into a lot of the Terence McKenna's Time Wave Zero thing, where time is speeding up and novelty is also increasing. And you know, his model said that at 2012 we hit that absolute point of maximum compression, et cetera, et cetera. But since that date, I have watched this planet and all the people here. Just the growth is staggering when you look out and see the changes that are happening on personal levels. It's just absolutely phenomenal.
And this is all happening. This is all happening within us. You know, this is what we must really remember: is that the within is so important. The universe is within us. Everything is within us. It appears to be on the outside. This is what the Vedas teach, and the Vedas come from Shiva. You know, they teach the sages what they understood over eons of meditation and spiritual practice and connecting to the sacred elements. You know, as a kid I used to think, why did they worship the sun when I read it in history books, that the Aryans worshipped the sun? I thought, how daft. But of course it isn't. It wasn't daft. It was extremely scientific. And what they taught was, you know, that it is, you are the detached observer, the 13th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. I am not the field, being the mind, body, and the intellect. I am not the field, being the mind, body, and the intellect. I am the knower of the field. I am the compassionate witness or observer of my mind, body, and intellect. And so that within space, you know, it is scary for people, because for 13,000 years it's been about the male. And when people say, well, we're now moving into a matriarchal system, and that's great. And no, we're not, you know. It's about this balance of the right and the left hemispheres of the brain. So if you spend all day, you know, just being on the within, well, that's not what this current Earth walk is about. This current Earth walk for most souls within free will is about heaven on earth. That's about holding the absolute reality, which is the oneness and the void within, and at the same time being in relative reality, which is walking the earth walk as a human being, here now, becoming divine, bringing the two together, spirit and matter, as within, so without, as above, so below, bringing it all together. And yes, that's challenging, but it's also tremendously exciting, is it not?
Yes. What an amazing time to be here on this planet, I'll tell you. Yeah. So
how would you say, for you, Tom, you know, transcending duality? Well, you don't want to transcend duality because that's what we've come here to experience in a way. But how, is there some way in which, say, from even this book, Shiva Speaks, you found a little aha moment of how to balance duality with that oneness, which you totally feel within you? I know you do.
There were so many things that within the book that were maybe more so affirmations for me, or confirmations, more so confirmations for me in a lot of the perspectives that I currently hold. Probably one of the more,
and reassurance.
Oh yes, absolutely. There's a lot of support there. One of the things out of Shiva Speaks that really struck me came out of I think it was the Love Is chapter, and it has to do with that feeling of separation and how we feel separated. So many of us on this path want to feel that unity, want to feel that oneness within all things, but then we still get out there, and when we interact with the world, we still feel that separation, the judgment, when all the while the undercurrent, the foundation that's built on is that love and that compassion, and it's all it all comes from that place, but our experience of it and our programming, for lack of a better word, our conditioning through this society has put that such an element of fear into everything. And I guess what I really got out of that chapter was that an affirmation for myself and support for myself in being able to go out into that world and be okay with my reactions and learn from them, I guess is the best one of the
and that's
big
what
chunks I
Babaji
pulled
says.
out of that.
He says, you know, be your own person, think your own thoughts, be your own person. And he says, I am nothing. Because he says, when you are sad, I am sad. When you are happy, I'm happy. So really, Babaji is just this massive mirror of reality, come from the unmanifest to the manifest, to reflect our own divinity, which is within us, which is that oneness to us. Yeah?
Right.
Does that make sense?
It certainly does.
It isn't a he or a she. And so, you know, and Babaji says, when you really want to get mad, Ramon, you know, he says, give that anger to me because only I can take it. In other words, only the unmanifest energy can take it. You know, that black hole energy, the void can take that because in that energy, it will be neutralized, you know.
We're at our last break, Rashmi, and God, some good stuff, guys. Hang around for the last segment. If you guys want to call in, number is 866-37-TRUTH. And we'll see you after the break.
On your way through this hard venture, you will be confronted.
This is the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
Only the free can tell the truth, then the truth can set you free. Only the free can tell the truth, then the truth can set you free.
Welcome back to the 100th Monkey Radio with Tom and Ramon, and we have Rashmi Khilnani with us tonight. And Rashmi, real quick before I throw out another question here, we had somebody in the chat room that wanted to know that you mentioned in the first hour a book called Breaking the Death Habit. Was that the name of it? And who was the author?
Yes. Leonard
Orr, Breaking the Death Habit. There you go,
yeah.
regular girl.
And Orr is O-double-R. Yeah. Yeah, it's a powerful book, and it's also very connected to Babaji. And, you know, all of you are invited to Harakan if ever you want to go in the foothills of the Himalayan mountains, which is where his ashram is. And, you know, it used to be a very wild place, but now I think they're building a road towards it. But there used to be wildcats and things, and it's really, really beautiful. And one can go and chant there and connect to that energy of Shiva and Mount Kailash, because through the earth changes, there were two. There's a Tibetan Mount Kailash, but there's also one in Harakan and Babaji. I mean, I've seen in transcendental states where there's a tunnel between the two, which I kind of go through in other realms.
So what is it
off the wall front?
Yeah, what is it about certain areas on this planet that seem to hold or possess a certain energy that's more conducive to connection, to being able to access those other realms?
Well, there's so many aspects to that, you know, sacred geometry and ley lines and things like that. But India, you know, as we know, is a land where there have been many, many sages and saints and divine beings. The Babaji says that Harakan is where he has manifested through the eons as different aspects of Babaji. In fact, in this current 80s incarnation, there was a court case about, he said, I own this place, you know, where the ashram is. And they said, how old are you? And he said, thousands of years old. And this was this crazy court case that went on when you know, giving these off-the-wall answers that were true to him. And in the end, the judge just sort of touched his feet and said, I'm a devotee, and the whole case was dismissed. He won it, you know.
So here's one for you, Rashmi. So let's say we have two people in one area. How do I put it? I guess it's probably best to and this has to do with manifestation. And for just for example purposes, I think I'll use like two sports teams. Let's say we have two entities there that are competing in some form or fashion, and they're doing the work. They're doing the back work. They're doing the inner work and the putting all the components together to manifest their dreams in front of them. But only one of them can win. Only one of them can have the success in the same goal that they're both reaching out to universe to manifest. Who wins in that situation? What's the determining factor?
The current energy isn't going to support any such scenario, my dear boy. The current energy is about win-win. So that's the energy of 13,000 years of darkness. Is this specifically to do with something that you're involved in?
No, not at all. I just saw kind of, those two immovable forces, everybody wants to win the lottery.
You mean like the dark and the light, for example?
No, not necessarily.
Well,
I'm thinking like...
In the new energy, there will be win-win. In other words, that's the heaven on earth energy. It's like right now everybody feels a lack of everything. That's all the mind energy. The heart energy is abundant. When beings like Devaji had to have food for hundreds of people, the pot would just keep producing the food. Or they would say, how would so many people fit into this teeny tiny hut to meet him? And it would all just miraculously happen. So the new energy is unlimited. It's beyond the mind. It is multidimensional. It is, when they used to lift him up, sometimes he was as light as a feather, and sometimes he weighed like, millions of kilos. And so we will all be able to perform these different siddhis or spiritual gifts, It's like I'm able to meet people and sometimes tell them about their past lives and different things and, what's bothering them within seconds sometimes. And so these are siddhis, These are divine gifts that get given to us as we expand consciousness in a way that we will not misuse it. And when we say win-lose, that is a misuse of power. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
unless you're talking about the light. Because the light is now going to overcome the dark. That's definitely going to be a win-win.
Right.
Usually, those energies that are into competition and divide and rule and elitism, etc., will so-called lose. Except they won't lose. They'll be invited to be embraced into the light.
So,
some will self-destruct, but ultimately there is no destruction because nothing can be created or destroyed. It only rearranges itself.
So this time that we're working into and moving into, is this one of we'll call it graduation day for planet Earth, for humanity. Has this happened before on this planet? Have we had these civilizations go through and reach this point?
No, this is an experiment that has never happened anywhere in the universe within manifest reality ever before, because this is a time when we are the divine plan within free will, and we don't know the outcome because it's never been done before. Even this is called outlooking the maker, as Barbara Marciniak so well explains in her book, Family of Light. Anyway, so the thing is that this time it's not just a planet ascending; it's every single being on the planet ascending with her. So that is the free will component, which leads to us not knowing for sure whether this experiment will go through or not. And that's why so many beings from so many time-space continuums are here to watch this sliver of reality to see what is going to happen. And that is why all the Ascended Masters, I personally feel, are currently also walking around the earth in physical bodies. They're not official bodies, so they don't want huge, massive entourages around them. Just as I'm quite happy to be moving around the planet and not having an entourage, or not even, having a huge public platform essentially, because of some of the jobs, that need to happen behind the scenes, within consciousness, as opposed to, this old paradigm. So, it is a terribly exciting time, and, I feel that we will all come through. Do you feel that, or do you feel it'll just be a few of us?
Oh no, well, that's been a big question mark for me for quite a few years on whether or not all that are here come through this, for lack of a better term, graduate. There's been that big question there, because there's certain people and beings that I've encountered, and the energy that I feel when around them or interacting with them, it leaves this inconceivable thought in my mind, this impression of inconceivability of them, moving past this place, or I get the sense they're going the opposite direction.
In the next 2 years, so much will change, and as Babaji keeps saying, that he has very few. I mean, this time I needed a couple of British people to come forward, as in, this is esoteric, deep work for consciousness. I'm sharing this because the time of secrets in life is completely over, and it's important also to be transparent when the time is right. And so I needed some, spiritual Babaji devotees to come forward to do morphogenic work for Britain, because, there's so much flooding happening, right, for atonement of the British karma and the empire in Britain. And it's the same in America, atonement has to happen. And each country has its own different karmic things, so it depends on which country. I was in Britain at the time. And one person stepped forward, and even she was reluctant, and I had to channel, Babaji saying, I didn't have to, but I chose to, saying, this is extremely important, and it's within your free will, and you have to take responsibility. But this is your personal part, but this is also a part for when you shift in a way the consciousness for your whole country and for Europe. And in fact, even for America, because the empire building in America took over from the empire building in Britain,
right,
across this globe. So all that has to be atoned, so there's so many wheels within wheels within wheels, but it's all happening simultaneously. Right. And we don't have to worry our heads about how and when and where. We just have to look at our own part of the jigsaw puzzle, of the microcosm within the macrocosm. So for Tom and Ramon, it's this show, which is so powerful, that reaches out to so many people on so many different perspectives to do with this one energy. And you guys are very good at discerning people's energy. So I'm sure, you're not going to keep having people on the show that are just doing what we discussed earlier, Tom,
right,
spiritually intellectual. None of what we're discussing today, even if it gets judged later on YouTube or whatever, as being spiritually, being intellectual, that's not what it is. This is energetic. This is, me walking my talk and you walking your talk. Not being perfect with it. We're still human. We've got our human aspect. And the divine now doesn't expect us to lose that, but at the same time realizing that at the epicenter of that humanness is divinity, and that is unlimited, and it's time to come out of this box of I'm just Indian, or I'm just a human, or I'm just, stupid, or I'm just super intelligent, into that humility and that grace of, my mother was very upset that, I am the goddess. Well, I don't go around saying to people generally, though I might, that I am the goddess, but I see the goddess in everybody.
Right.
Now, if they don't see it in themselves, I'm not going to push it onto them. But I do see it, you see, because that's the divine spark that I feel in every heart. And that's why, as a bodhisattva, call it that, on this planet, I won't rest until one sees suffering ending on this planet. Now, that doesn't mean I'm overly responsible for every single thing that's happening all over, because that's not what it's about. But to keep, my main focus as service, and that's what Babaji says as well, that unless we serve the collective, unless we see the oneness in all that is, there will continue to be suffering and so on. But the photonic energy from the outside and the energy of love and grace, and the time to wake up has come. So our experiences are going to keep being intensified till we finally go surrender. I give up. I don't know. And that's when, boom, we go into the divine mystery, and therein lies the bliss, and therein lies the grace, and therein lies the graduation.
There
and
you
the
go.
Mashivaya.
There you go. Okay, we've got a caller on the line. You feel like taking a call?
Okay, sure.
All right. So we have Miami, Florida. Are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Greetings, everyone. This is Ramon.
Hey, Ramon. How you doing, man? Welcome to the show.
Joe.
Thank you. I'm doing great, man. I'm doing awesome. Just listening to the great conversation, and I didn't have any questions. It's more like a statement that we absolutely feel that the time has come. Like, I see it. It's a global thing now. I see the powers that be trying to suppress this energetic, vibrational change in people's hearts and minds, but it's going to shine through. I absolutely believe that from the bottom of my heart, not for any other reason other than internally I feel it, and that's just my opinion. If everybody else does it, doesn't, I don't know. But honestly, man, it's like that feeling that I get from looking at little kids, whether in Afghanistan or Iraq or Africa, or even my own daughter's eyes. It's that energy flow that it can't be stopped, no matter how many military tanks, no matter what force is trying to stop that. It will not stop us. It's going to happen. I feel it.
Yay! Absolutely. I was meant to be in Florida, but you see, we are all so connected now. It doesn't really matter. We can biolocate, and we can send energy to the whole world, and we can send this love and energy that you're so sweetly sharing from your heart to everybody everywhere. And that's so beyond isms and anything. It's just that pure energy of love and coming together to celebrate now.
Mm.
Like yourself motivate me. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, Ramon. What are the kind of things you're hearing there in Florida from like kids who are, just turned 20 and under? The kind of things, like the conversations between themselves or even talking to you.
I mean, it's a change. I can say that it's gotten to the point where people are really asking questions, because I don't know if you guys noticed where you guys were at, but a few years ago when Obama was elected or selected in the office, whatever you want to say, it seemed like people really believed the things he was saying and the hope and change BS that he was selling to everybody, that obviously now we see was just another gimmick, like every other one that's gone before him. But I see the change in people's hearts now. They really want to know. It's not a black-white thing. It's not a left-right paradigm thing. It has nothing to do with that. It's, are you really about the things you say you are? Do you really want to help people? If not, then get away. We don't want these vampire-like people feeding off the little people anymore. We see that we can make it happen ourselves, and so be it. If they don't want to help, we're going to do it. And the kids and everybody around here, they see that we can't wait on people to help us. If that's the case, then it would have been Cain. It would have been happened. It would have happened a long time ago. But some people are still in that mentality that you can wait and hope for change, but it's not going to happen. You have to be that change.
That's right. That's
absolutely.
That goes
and it's
back
the
to
youngsters. It's the youngsters that are going to take us into it. It's the children and the 19-year-olds. So many of them across the globe really want win-win. They don't, when I meet a couple from Sweden at 19 and ask them, what can I give them in terms of energy? They say, we want world peace. We want everybody to have what we have in Sweden. We don't want, there's that greater vision for everyone to share.
Oh,
yeah. Go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say that goes back to what Ramon said there. It goes back to what I read out of your book there, Rashmi. The hands that work are greater than the hands that just worship. It's us engaging. It's us engaging with the world in bringing what we're learning and what we're experiencing out and sharing it, getting in relationship with others. And that's where it's at right there. It's it's the way we are relating to each other on a completely different level than what we used to.
Absolutely. Actually, the truth is we already are enlightened. And what we've come here to do is this relating, is this bringing the divinity and humanity together through loving. And loving doesn't mean, always saying yes and compromising our own truth and just sticking to conditioning to please others. It means being authentic, but at the same time honoring the other person, even if we don't agree with the other person. But also having the courage when the time is right to fight the good fight and to say no to the systems that are not working and the systems that are corrupt and only work for the interests of very few people.
Right.
And to come into this win-win for everybody, irrespective of color or race. And that is what all the prophecies have said, and in that space, Shiva connects to my connection to the Great Pyramid of Giza and all the things where I wondered all these different parts and aspects of my cosmic divinity, how will they come together? And each time they do, in Bob Frisell's book, he brings, Babaji together with Egypt and spaceships. And I was so excited because at that point, years ago, when I read his book, nothing in this book is true, but that's how things are anyways, etc. It was just so fantastic to see it is all oneness. It's just got different names to that oneness. And, this Om Namah Shivaya mantra, it really purifies your mind and it purifies your heart. And then you do start seeing Shiva in everyone and everything. And so truth, simplicity, and love, and connecting to your heart energy and grounding. As we ground, we can really, bring this spirit and matter together.
Right. Sometimes we find.
And how do we ground? You guys know how to ground, right?
Absolutely. Oh.
You've had enough guys on your show, not kidding, to know how to ground. So just, walk around bare feet, hug some trees, do some drumming, and connect to the earth, and just bring in the archetypal energy of earth. Every time you're feeling a lack, go earth, earth, earth. Sometimes I say, Babaji, all this money I keep spending and everything I'm doing for free and all my services for free, and, that's great, but what when it runs out? I still want to be able to flit around the planet and the cosmos to do what I do on my turbocharged broomstick. Kidding. And he goes, it is unlimited, and it is, the goddess Lakshmi and I are one. Earth, earth, earth. Earth is the archetypal energy for flow. And so, it is scary to come out of the jam jar of limitation into skies upon skies that are waiting for us. But let that jam jar shatter now, so that that unlimited being comes through. And ask for the courage. Ask from whichever being, or, ask from Shiva, because the dance of Nataraja is happening. And Babaji talked very much about Mahakranti, which is the great destruction for the purging. Now, people feel that's on the outside, but it's also very much on the inside for each and every one of us now. So just breathe and go through this change and keep coming to the intention. And why not choose unlimited being as opposed to that conditioning? Most people are getting bored of it, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. Oh,
Don't you feel? Keep laughing through it all, guys, and you're doing such a great job, and I really want to thank you from my heart, because all of you have a heartfelt energy, and I'm sure that the listeners out there have this heartfelt energy, or they wouldn't be connecting to your show. And I particularly love your show because of its name, 100 Monkey Radio, because I've talked about that for so many years, about this. Just a few of us will then shift it for everybody. So if we can really focus on being wholehearted about our wholeheartedness, yeah?
Right, absolutely. Right.
then we'll shift everything.
So we're down to 3 minutes left to go in the show. And by the way, Ramon has dropped off. Thank you so much for calling in, Ramon. Namaste, my friend. And we've got 3 minutes left. Rashmi, what have you got coming up? What's your plans? Are you got another book coming, or what's going on?
Yes, I hope to have another book soon. Rashmi Speaks, Tales of an Indian Mystic. And my film I Got should come out this year with Neil Donald Walsh and Robert Friedman, and we've got a lot of the spiritual leaders like Mariam Williamson and Deepak Chopra and many of the other ones, James Van Praagh, all in the film. It's about unity consciousness, so fingers crossed for that coming out this year. And I will be, traveling to many places. I've got my own radio show, 2013 and Beyond, and there's a Facebook page for that. And I'm on Facebook sharing a lot of my other radio shows through which a lot of healing, transformation, and energy work happens right on the show, because it's the energy beyond the words, and we transmit healing energy and initiation. And Shiva Speaks, as I said, is coming in paperback in the next couple of weeks. So there'll be quite a few more shows and events and things like that. And my website is www.rashmikhilnani.com, where all the books are on it. So, yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us, and as usual, every time we've had you on here, I've just had an amazing, fantastic time. And we didn't even get to.
Thank you, Tom, for your service.
We didn't even get to over-intellectualizing the spiritual world. We'll save that for the next time we have on. Yeah.
I feel that we went even deeper into the heart energy on this show. I mean, all 3 shows have been like that. So I hope we're going to do some more shows together and, put this on YouTube, hopefully, and meet up sometime. And you're all invited to India.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Especially I'm not that far. I'm closer to India than America.
Okay, guys. Well, we got 1 minute left.
Sending you grounding and...
There you go.
Is there anything else you need energy for?
Ramon?
Oh, trying to do the alchemy with the nuclear waste.
There you go. A little cleansing stuff.
Yeah, we'll all send energy for that. All the listeners as well, everybody put your intention for the transmutation and healing of Fukushima, which is really important. And at the same time, remembering that we don't need to give it overgiven energy as well, right?
All right, guys. All right, I want to thank everybody for joining us. We love you guys, and we'll see you next week. Condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance.
The love you deny is the pain you carry.
And check out our show on www.120radio.com. Tomorrow we have the ladies on the Divine Masculine and Divine Feminine.